Hello all, and you know, I did a preview of All In, which is something I never do, so I figured I would come out here and just talk about the show. The show was great. The show was actually pretty awesome. I could see people thinking it was great. I could see people thinking it was really good. Can't see anyone thinking it was bad. Um, but we'll go over. It's not like the show was perfect by any stretch of the imagination, but we can kind of go over it, and I can give you my thoughts and my takes, and because this was a pretty big deal. This was a fairly big deal, as a lot of people have noted, and I think that once you watch the show, it became maybe a little bit more evident. It was it was very much. I would not be surprised if Sinclair backed a whole lot of this show, to be honest. Because, well, just because. You look at you look at everything that happened. You look at the fact that it was a bunch of Ring of Honor guys / New Japan guys with some indie talent. Is kind of how I would look at it. But it was a lot of it did involve all of being the elite and all of that. But all I said, none of that really matters. The show was still a pretty big deal. 10,000 10,000 seats sold. We don't know we don't know what it did pay-per-view wise, but yeah, and we don't know what it did with the 0 hour, what the WGN America will do. We'll know that in a couple of days though. Probably I would think Wednesday, because you've got a holiday here in the United States Sunday or Monday, so that'll probably move the ratings back a little bit. But that all said, we'll start off with I did think this was a really good show. Of course, this was a really big show. It showed that there is a want for more wrestling. And this was a big show. This was almost like a WrestleMania show. So there was that. I think this would be an even bigger deal if the New Japan San Francisco show, and if New Japan had not had their heads up their butts, and had actually promoted the show properly. Part of the problem is that they're not going to promote the card before they are ready to say what the card is, and because of the way they book, that means that they're going to hold off to pretty much the last possible minute to tell you what the card is, which people are like, because they feel like they've been burned by New Japan, because they're like, well, are we going to get a actual New Japan show? Are we going to get like at least a B show, or are we going to get like a Road to show? And sometimes I would say the last two shows felt like, I wouldn't even say B shows. I would say kind of the next step below a B show, kind of a C show, in New Japan, and I think that's kind of hurt the ticket sales and everything, because people are very leery without knowing, okay, what are we actually getting? And I think there's a way around that. I think you could easily have New Japan say, they could go, this title is going to be defended. You don't have to say who's going, but this title is going to be defended. And then you say, and also these people are going to be on the show on top of that. I think if you did it that way, people would be a little bit more understanding, and you would have that. And if you had done that, and you'd actually promoted, and put on, I would say I think you could still put on a better show for the San Francisco show. I'm not going to say they should have went out and done like, oh, let's do a Wrestle Kingdom card, or any of like an A show card, because I don't think that's something they would have done. Maybe they should have, and if that would have gotten, a 10,000 seat, they would have sold 10,000 seats there. You would have had this show, and then Madison Square, the ROH Madison Square Garden show on top of that. Be a much bigger deal, and it'd be a far more evident that there is a want for a other large wrestling promotion that people are willing to spend a good amount of money on. And you wouldn't be able to chalk it up to, well, it's WrestleMania weekend. Oh, well, it's a one-time, people are traveling sort of thing. I think it would help with that. But that all said, let's talk about the 0 hour matches. Because these, I think, are super important. Only because if these did really well, then that could mean big things. So, but we'll have to wait and see. We'll find out, like I said, probably Wednesday, how these did. But here we go. So they started off. I was kind of surprised with this. Though not, you know what? I shouldn't say that because I think I was actually kind of surprised with this. You had well, was I surprised with it? I guess I was. But you had the Briscoes versus Kazarian and Scorpio Sky. This was, I thought, really good. I wouldn't say great, because I think it was good up until like near the end. I thought the finish was awesome. I've seen that finish before. I can't remember. I think it was Marufuji tagging with somebody. I can't remember who he was tagging with. I can't remember who it was, but he was tagging with someone versus the Briscoes, and they basically did pretty much the same ending. It was handled a little bit better, but that was one of my favorite ending sequences ever. This was good. Kazarian and Sky were playing face. The Briscoes were playing heels. It was a really good tag match, like I said, and then the ending I thought was just a really good topper. I thought this was a very, 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 very good match. Enjoyed it a lot. So yeah, there you go. Then we had, and during the 0 hour, I should say, you had what? You had like wrestling tea commercials, which was kind of interesting. You had some other stuff going on too, but it was interesting to see. And I would say that I thought the commentary most of the night was okay. I'm not the biggest Excalibur fan. I think I've said that numerous times. I thought he was okay tonight. I thought he had a couple of good ones. Like, he took it a little bit more seriously than he normally does. He was still kind of over the top on some of it, but I would have rather, and this isn't because I thought he did good enough, but I would have rather had him be the guy instead of Don Callis all night, like going in and out. But he was on the show most of the time. But he's also, he's friends with a lot of these guys, so I get that. But that's just my own personal take. And like I said, I don't think he was definitely not as bad as he normally is, in my opinion. He did not grate on me. I did not necessarily want him off, but I didn't think he was like spectacular either. So there you go. And I would say that the announcing was a little not as good as you would have hoped, but it was still pretty good. It wasn't like it was bad. It was just kind of okay, I would say. But there you go. And I thought they did a pretty good job. It'll be interesting to see how the ratings are. I thought they did a pretty good job, an okay job, I would say, at hyping the pay-per-view for the most part. I thought, the video package, of course, for the NWA, that was like, that was an amazing thing. So, but anyways, then we had the over-the-top or the over-budget Battle Royal, which had a ton of people in it. They opened it up, and unfortunately, one of the people we had in was Bubba Ray, which I'm like, really? Why did we have to do this? But you had a ton of people. Everyone kind of got their spot. Everyone got their, I can't even remember everyone that was in it, but everyone got their spot. It started off with Bubba Ray power bombing Chico Luchador, which was pretty funny, through a table, so he was like out for the whole thing. And then it just kind of went from there. But like I said, everyone that was in the match, I can't remember everyone in the match off the top of my head, did, I thought, really well. I thought it was fascinating to see in many ways. It was pretty interesting. Oh, here's everybody. I found everyone. So you had Moose, Brandon Cutler, Trent Beretta, Chuck Taylor, Rocky Romero, Cheeseburger, Hurricane Helms, Ethan Page, Tommy Dreamer. That was interesting. But he got to show kind of his stuff too. Everyone here got to show stuff. Jimmy Jacobs, Punisher Martinez, Austin Gunn, Billy Gunn, and he actually didn't suck here. He was actually kind of cool. Marco Stunt, who was really good. Brian Cage, who was interesting. Jordan Grace, because you had him and Jordan Grace had a pretty good like thing going on. Colt Cabana, he got to show a little bit. Like I said, Bully Ray got to show a little bit. And then at the very end, after everyone was eliminated, it looked like Bully Ray had won. You find out that Chico Luchador was actually Flip Gordon, which got a massive, massive pop. And of course, we've been following, the whole thing with Flip Gordon. And he eliminated Bully Ray. So now he was going to be in the championship match versus Jay Lethal, which was cool. Probably not what I would have done, though you could have, unless you were going to have Flip Gordon win the title, but I think it's too early for Flip Gordon to win the title, so it's kind of like, really? But I would have probably had somebody win this, who you would have had win the title. Like I said, I think I said this in other, I would have had Jeff Cobb win, and just have him just beat and just be a monster for a while myself. That's what I would have done, but probably not everybody else. But yeah, it was still a pretty good little match. So there you go. Then you had a surprise opening match once we opened the pay-per-view. You had Matt Cross versus man, my throat is just killing me. You had Matt Cross versus MJF, which was interesting little opener, though I've some people speculated it was because it looked like Fight TV was having issues, and so maybe that's why they went on. I don't know. It was kind of weird. But they had a pretty good match. Wasn't anything amazing, but it was pretty good. Was maybe the weakest match on the card. Maybe. I would say maybe the weakest match on the card. But yeah, I mean they Matt Cross is really good. MJF is entertaining, I would say, and the fans ate most of it up still, even though this was an unadvertised match. So like I said, I figured there was going to be at least one surprise match. We got no Pac, so that's kind of surprised me, but that is what it is. But I figured, even with him, we were probably gonna get two, but we only got one, and I somehow this is a surprise match, which was kind of like, really? Okay. But yeah, it was okay. Then we had Christopher Daniels versus Stephen Amell. This was good. I thought Stephen Amell did blow up a little bit, but as far as celebrity matches go, this was like off the charts. I would say probably one of the very best. But Amell likes this stuff. You can tell. Christopher Daniels, was probably the perfect guy to work with him. Amell did, any crazy spot he thought he could do, he probably did, I'm sure. So, but this was enjoyable. Christopher Daniels won, which kind of surprised me. I would have thought Stephen Amell would win so they could get, even more hype out of it, but that's not what happened. So, there we go. Then we had the women's match with Tessa Blanchard, Madison Rayne, Chelsea Green, and Britt Baker. This was good, I would say. Good-ish, maybe. It was sloppy in some parts. I will say that Tessa Blanchard, as is normally the case when she's in there with looked like the biggest star. I don't know. She stands out when she's in matches, even with a lot of girls. It's like, ooh, she stands out. So there is that. They did hype the fact that she was the TNA champion. She won, which was fine. Like I said, I thought the match was a little sloppy. It was good, but it was kind of just like all over the place too. So there we go. Then we had really early. I was surprised we got this match this early. Was the NWA title match? Cody Rhodes versus Nick Aldis. They did every trick in the book to try to make this match good. It worked. Cody is, like I say, Cody's capable of putting on very good matches. Nick Aldis is a guy. It's kind of annoying that this is probably the biggest stage Nick Aldis. This is like a shot. This is a stage. You had, no matter what you want to think, people were going to talk about this match. Even if a lot of people didn't see it, this was a chance for him to shine, and he still just went out there and was a guy. Unfortunately, but Cody did every trick he could. The entrance, they did a thing where they all had cornermen. They had like legends follow them to the ring, which was cool to see. They showed the video packages, which had been done, which were really, really good. They played it up as a big-time thing. And the fans did eat it up, even though it was, like I said, it was good. It went probably longer than I would have thought it needed to go, but Cody won, which is cool. I think, because I think him having that belt, I mean, the belt probably does mean something to him because of his dad, but also I think him as the champion probably will serve that belt really good. It wasn't like the best NWA match I'd seen since, like the split from TNA, because, you've got that Brent Albright and Adam Pearce match, which, people forgot that match, people thought that match was going to be like a match, and it turned out, I don't want to say it stole the show in that story, because I think it was a Manhattan Mayhem, I think it's Manhattan Mayhem, maybe Manhattan Mayhem, maybe not, because I think it was a summer show, but, but that match rocked, but it wasn't that good, but it was probably, this will probably look back at that, because that was like, that whole series kind of, raised the NWA belt for just a little bit back then, so maybe we'll see that. So there you go. Then we had the Chicago Street Fight with Adam Page and Joey Janela. This was great. This was a crazy hardcore freaking brawl. They did spot after spot after spot. Joey Janela is crazy. Adam Page is crazy. It was just insanity. It was not the comedy dick match that everyone thought it was going to be, though we did get that eventually. But they went off tables. They went off anything. I think they tried to go off anything they could. They did lots of weird, crazy things. So yeah, that was fun. Really enjoyed it. Though you could tell after this match that the crowd was getting tired. Or starting to get, you could tell that it was like, okay, this is going to be a long show, and we're already to a point where it's like, kind of thing. But after the match, they paid it off, because they had the dead Joey, I want to say Joey Styles. It's not Joey Styles. I can't remember. I'm so freaking stupid. Joey Ryan. So stupid. Anyways, came out live and well. Did everything you would want him to do. Got, I guess, a semblance of revenge on Hangman Page. He came out with a bunch of dicks, and the dicks carried Hangman Page away. And Hangman Page won the match, by the way. I forgot to say that. But yeah, they went off ladders and like and some crazy stuff too. So that was fun. That was everything I had hoped it would be. So that was good. Then we had Jay Lethal taking on Flip Gordon. Jay Lethal came out. Jay Lethal was doing the Machismo, like the Macho Man gimmick. He actually came out with Lanny Poffo, which was kind of cool. Apparently he was the outfit he was wearing was actually like a Macho Man outfit, so that was kind of groovy. It came out. Flip Gordon came out with Brandy. Brandy was like dressed to like, yeah, she was there to impress, to say the least. And they had a good match, I would say. It was good. I would say it was pretty good. It didn't blow me away or anything. Jay Lethal won. They did some pretty cool stuff. The ending sequence was really good stuff. So there you go there. Then we had Kenny Omega versus Pentagon. This was awesome. This was my personal match of the night. But I really liked this. They went out there. They just went out there and had the match that you would hope they would have, and it was really good. And Penta was crazy over. Kenny Omega was crazy over. They went out, had fun. Was kind of surprised this went on before Okada versus Scurll, which probably ended up hurting Okada versus Scurll, though them going forever didn't help either. But yeah, there we go. Then you had Okada versus Scurll. They went out. They tried to have, I think, a really good match. It went too long. they lost the crowd kind of early, probably because they had from Omega and Pentagon. They went way too long, which you could tell in the next match because you could tell they were rushing through everything, and apparently, people were hearing them say, "Hey, you gotta, this gotta wrap this up, wrap this up. We gotta go, we gotta go." Match was good. I was hoping this would be great, but it was just good, I would say. So there you go. I think I liked this match maybe more than some people did. I've seen some people really not like this match, which kind of surprised me. But I thought it ended up being really good. Just way too long, way too long. Then you had the Golden Elite taking on Mysterio and Bandido in Fenix, and they did not get much time. I think they probably got maybe 10 minutes. So they basically just did a super spotty like sprint. That even all night you were having kind of these, I don't want to say elaborate entrances, but somewhat elaborate entrance. You would have expected more of an elaborate entrance here. You didn't get that, probably because they were on time. They just all kind of ran out and got in the ring, and they got started, and they were doing every single thing you would hope they would do. I mean, this was from I really liked this match. Maybe it going so short helped it maybe a little bit, but it was just a crazy sprint, spot-fed sprint. The fans absolutely loved it, especially at the end of the night after they'd been there for so long. It was probably maybe a good idea, so it might have worked out okay, but you could definitely tell they were going, and they quickly went off the air. The Golden Elite won. They quickly went off the air. Heard that after, I think it was Matt, one of them said that they had 3 seconds to get off the air when they ended the show. So there was and I forgot I talked about Omega and Pentagon and completely forgot that so the end of Omega and Pentagon, Omega wins, great match, and the lights go out, and it was, I think this was second or third time the lights had gone out. And they went out for a while, and then lights came back on. There's Omega, and there's Pentagon still dead. And then he got up, and you could tell right away it was not Omega, or it was not Pentagon. Attacked Omega, and turned out to be Chris Jericho, and Chris Jericho kind of did his thing, and so that was cool to see Chris Jericho on the show. So that was cool. I'm sure is setting up something. It's amazing to see Chris Jericho out of WWE, and then like how his character is, and then to think like I don't want to say they held him back, but how you could tell that he definitely had like creative ideas he wasn't able to do, I guess would be the better way to do it. But all that said, I thought this was a pretty awesome show to watch live. It was very fun. It was long, but it was fun. You could tell these guys really played to their audience. They gave the fans what they wanted. They do a lot of things that much different from WWE? Not really. But at the same time, they also, I think they delivered on a lot of their stuff a lot more. And to a point where the fans really liked it. It felt, in some ways, it felt like a very modern pro wrestling show, even though I would say from a technical standpoint, it wasn't. It definitely had some technical issues, so there was that. But I can't see anyone not really liking the show very much, unless you're just going into it just like, I'm not going to like the show. There was enough stuff here where I would think you can find stuff that you would really enjoy. And then they, hyped up the fact, would you like to see it again, all that, and that'll have to wait and see. I will say this, it was kind of interesting because when you look at this, there was a lot of, Ring of Honor talent, like I said, there's a lot of New Japan talent, there's a lot of talent that Ring of Honor definitely could use on a regular basis. I mean, I think on the main show, the only guy, let's see, you would have the women, and then who would they not be able to use? Joey Janela, I guess. Joey Janela, I don't know what his contract is with Gabe, but he would be really the only guy. Well, and Ray, but Ray is different. But other than that, I mean, but at this point they'd be able to use Ray. I mean, that's a Ring of Honor card. And not even, you're not even using, I would say there's other guys from Ring of Honor you could have used in this to maybe even make the card better that you could have done. And in a lot of ways, and I've seen a lot of people say this, and I absolutely agree. This is kind of says a lot about Delirious and the fact that he's been there for so long as Booker. And the thing is, if you were going to be let's say number 2 / maybe I would say they're solidly number 2 right now in Ring of Honor, but they're so far behind WWE. I just was on Twitter, and New Japan announced how much money they've been making. They make a lot. They not counting inflation, they surpassed their 97 number. So that's awesome. But think of how far behind WWE, but they're still maybe a couple hundred of millions of dollars behind WWE. So that says a lot. And probably not even a lot of millions. And that's before we go into this new where they're going to even be more. They're going to be billions behind WWE. And so when you're like that, not only do you have to make stars, which they really haven't done, and you have to sign guys who are, and you don't have to sign every guy that's like this, but you have to sign enough guys who are like the new hot thing on the indies, and at least give them a shot, and at least see if you can put them in your roster. Maybe you can't. Maybe you don't have a spot for them because you have other guys that you've made who you feel are over. But are there that many guys in Ring of Honor that are that over? Don't think so. So yeah, there was that. So it would be interesting to see in that regard coming out of that part of it. But all that said, I still think it was a great show. Historic night, no question. I think no matter how you want to look at it, but good stuff. And hopefully this is the start of something better. Hopefully you have people from outside of that were watching this, from around the wrestling world, that kind of see, why this show worked. I think I tweeted out, you look at, the first, Joey Janela's first spring break, you look at this year's spring break, you look at this show, there's a lot of things that are similar in a lot of ways, particularly how they were promoted. The fact that they seemed fun, that fun was an important factor to why these shows worked, which is something I think a lot of promoters kind of miss at times. So you have all that. But anyways, that's it. I've talked for way long enough. So with that, I'm out. If you did not see the show, you need to see this show. I think it's on New Japan World. You definitely can order the replay. All of that stuff. All of the above is what I'd say. This was that good of a show. So there you go. Out.